to the thing. Welcome back to the thing. The thing? Yes, the thing. The thing. Happy Saturday to all the good homies, all the cool people of the Spacebook world. I hope you are having a wonderful Saturday. Let's play some music. Madison, and Allie. Yes, of course I remember you guys. How could I forget? How could I forget? Yeah, I hope you guys are well back in Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken. find the chord I'm looking for. That's okay. It's funny. This little camera thing is actually on a chair, and I can just turn around and show you all the instruments in this room. So over here we have a piano, and keep on turning. There's a drum kit, PA setup, bass over here. It's actually kind of sparse in here at the moment, believe it or not. But usually we have another couple guitars set up and amps and everything. So totally forgot to give my thoughts on 30. So I'm going to do that because we passed the 30 of the hour. Oh, also just a very quick note. I'm using these tiny little picks. I don't know if you can see how small this thing is. It's probably smaller than my eye. And still kind of getting used to them, but I don't mind them now. Anyway, thoughts on 30. So the topic that I was thinking of for today was just some kind of brief initial thoughts on flow states. And so I'm not super qualified to talk about this quite yet because I'm about to start this book called Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It's some really crazy Polish last name. I'm pretty sure he's Polish. And so he's a psychologist, and he studies the psychology of optimal experience and flow states. And his kind of theory and his hypothesis is that flow states are what make people happy, and if you can enter the flow more often, you'll be a happier person. So I haven't actually started his book, but he has a TED Talk, which you can check out on YouTube if you're interested. And just some of the key points. I guess I'll talk mostly about just my own experience with flow states. So as a musician, I'm always trying to get in the flow of the music, right? I think the flow state itself could be described as a state of non-resistance, where though I'm playing the guitar, I'm really just letting music move through me. I'm not really playing music, but music is just happening, and I'm there, basically. And that's what being in the flow actually would mean for me as a musician. And so it's an incredibly pleasant experience. And he makes a really interesting point that this is kind of there's a feeling of ecstasy. And so when we think of ecstasy, we think excited, right? But actually the Greek derivative of the word for ecstasy means to step outside oneself, or to step aside from oneself and just let everything else happen, essentially. And so he makes the interesting point that as humans, we can only process around 100 stimuli in a second. And so when you really get in the flow of something like music or writing or composing or really anything you can get in the flow of, sorry, I'm just noticing something funny in myself. I'll come back to it another time. When you really get in the flow of something, though, your self-awareness, you become much less aware of yourself, because you can only process 100 stimuli at once, and say maybe on average you're usually 50 stimuli are self-aware and 50 are not. All of a sudden you're in this flow state, and maybe 75 are in the flow of the music or the art or whatever, and only 25 are in your self-awareness. Or if you take it to the extreme, say all 100 of the stimuli that you're processing are what you're doing, and you're completely unaware of yourself at that point. This is the Greek derivative of ecstasy, to step aside oneself, to step outside oneself. And it's a very exciting and pleasant experience. It's not that you don't exist, but just that everything exists instead. You're not separate from everything. You're just connected with it, and yeah. Sorry, I phrased that very oddly, but yeah. So that's kind of what we go for as musicians. I feel like artists in general. It's a good feeling, Sometimes let me give you an example. So I play a lot of shows, or it's been a minute since I played a show, but I tend to play a lot of shows. I do this all the time. For example, this would maybe count as a show. Sometimes I'm really on, other times I'm really not. I think last week I had a pretty lousy week, actually, and the music wasn't very good. Music today I would I would say it's pretty good. Not to judge myself, but for better or worse, just I don't want to judge myself. But yeah, I think the music today is pretty good. On days where I'm really on and really in it, the music is fantastic, right? Because it's not really inhibited. It's just kind of happening. And so that's the beauty of the flow state where, you know, the art just happens and it's not you doing the art, it's just art happening, which is kind of the highest goal of art, at least in my book. You know, like if I can completely step out of the way, what happens is going to be way better than anything that I could individually produce. And this is both it's a hard realization, I feel like, because, you know, I want to be able to intentionally make good art. I want to like sit down, practice for X hours a day, and then have something good that I can do and show it to people, and people will be, oh, so good, you know, wonderful music. But that's not how it works. That's not at all. And of course, if you play music or if you're an artist of any kind, you probably know that that's not how it works. You can't just sit down and create something beautiful. What needs to happen is more of a letting go almost. And so that's why what you practice is not necessarily like the technical side of things, although it does require technical skill. But the most important skill, though, is the skill to let go. And so that's a skill that you can practice each and every day. You know, every time this is probably why I'm the guitar player that I am. You know, people seem to think I'm good. I won't make any judgment, but you know, I think the reason that is because I've gotten pretty good at letting go. And for literally 10 to probably over 10 years of practice now, all I do on the guitar is what you're seeing right here and right now. I just kind of like loop some stuff, maybe play solos over it. Not even solos necessarily, but you know, I can only play one part at a time, and so in that sense it's a solo. But you know, to make music, I just make music. My practice has never been very technical. I've never really practiced scales. There was a time that I practiced scales just to memorize them, and then over the years past that, I used that as kind of the backbone knowledge, like the rule, so to speak, and then I just started trying to break the rule as much as I could. And so now I could play probably a solo without even playing a single note in the scale, intentionally, to try to make it sound good. So like, there's like a right scale in certain keys, maybe. June, hey. There's a right scale in certain keys, but you don't have to play all the right notes. You know, art has no rules. Music has no rules. The only rule is, you know, try your best, basically. That's kind of all I do, and that's kind of all I have done for like 10 years of practicing music. The first like 5 or 6 years, so I've played about 16 years. The first 5 or 6 years, I wasn't really doing that. Because the first 5 or 6 years, I was just learning all my chords and all my progressions and all that stuff, you know, learning basic songs. And it's actually kind of a blind spot that I still have after practicing the other way for so long, is just being able to play like songs that everyone knows. I know very few songs, even fewer songs that people actually know. But that's fine, like whatever. But flow states are really important for doing this sort of thing, though, because it's not thinking about music in theoretical terms that makes you good at music. You know, it's practicing music and playing music and trying to let the music flow through you. You know, you don't really create anything, it just kind of happens through you. And I think that's a really important realization. But they also say, though, that, you know, practicing certain aspects can be really helpful. For me, a big blind spot might be songwriting. Songwriting is something I want to practice a lot more. Hey, what do you want? Just because I write some songs, but I'm not, again, not very intentional about it. I don't have like a good regimen for how I'm going to write a song. And oh, this brings me to what I actually wanted to talk about. Okay, I'll get there in 1 second. Hey, I'm not very good at like intentionally sitting down and writing a song, but what I can do is just, for 3 days in a row, just try to write music, you know? And the first day will be terrible. The second day it'll still be pretty bad. But then the third day it will maybe not be terrible. And so if I do this process over and over again, then eventually I come up with something, it's decent maybe. And so that's kind of how you write music. You don't start writing, Beethoven's Seventh Symphony, which is my favorite classical piece, but you start writing just simple things, maybe 2-chord songs, 3-chord songs. You could write a 1-chord song, I bet, or even I think in terms of parts, right? So some songs have one progression through the whole song. Other songs have maybe one progression for one part and then one progression for another part, so 2 for the whole song. Others have 10 different progressions. Others don't even have a progression, so the higher the level of complexity, the more practice it takes to comfortably be able to even understand that. I think the technical side of the house is kind of where the understanding comes from, whereas the actual playing of it and inspiration of it has nothing whatsoever to do with technicality. The creative feeling of a piece has absolutely nothing to do with the technical style of it. So that's why you see some artists capable of writing really good music that's really simple, and you see other artists that play really complex music that's really not very good, or maybe not emotional. It all kind of depends what you're going for. Last point I wanted to make on this, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about today, was just that man, this dog just wants so much attention. You want so much attention, you know that? So last night, I'll just use an anecdote for example. So last night, true anecdote, true story. Last night I wasn't feeling super well. There's good feelings, there's bad feelings. I'm not going to go into why I was feeling one way or the other, but I wasn't feeling super emotionally well. So I just went out for a drive, and a lot of the time when I'm in kind of not feeling super happy or not feeling super well, I'll either journal or take a voice memo and just kind of spill thoughts. Either I spill thoughts on paper or I spill them out loud, basically. And so last night isn't the first time I did this, actually, but recently, last night was the most recent time that I've done this. I started a voice memo, and then I just didn't say anything. I just recorded the sound of me driving, and breathing, I guess, too. And occasionally there's a turn signal, click, 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 click. Hey, stop stepping on my stuff. That's so rude. Rude. Don't step on my stuff. And I have to move everything back. I just recorded silence in the place of where I would usually record, just ranting about why this reason, this thing happened to me and I feel sad about it, and this thing happened to me and I'm hopeful about this thing. I did that for years, right? I would journal every day in months when I would be really depressed, or multiple times a day in some cases, just letting out I feel this because of this and this and this. Last night and recently I've been more focused on, I hear that thought arise, but I'm not going to act on it. I'm just going to sit here. I'm not going to assume that that's the reason that I'm feeling this. I'm not going to put the blame for this feeling on another person or on an action. I'm not even going to assume that the feeling is real. When you start to not act, can you stop? Jeez, June, you're turning all my knobs here. I gotta keep them in order. I don't want to have to reset everything. Sorry, there's a little dog here. Hey, June, say hi. Turn more. Okay, we're done. Sorry, it's easy to get distracted when the doggy is here. But no, what began to happen though when I was just listening to silence and the sounds of driving, is I entered the flow state. I entered a state of very deep presence, very deep awareness of what I was doing and what was going on, driving, namely. And so within just a few minutes, I drove around for maybe half an hour. I became really peaceful again, you know? All the thoughts and feelings from yesterday seem so far away now. And I'm thankful for that because, you know, I don't want to say overwhelming, you know? I don't want to say that these feelings are overwhelming because then that's a reaction to the feelings. And only by non-reacting to them do you let them pass. So I think for all those years, my mistake was I was getting stuck on energy and reacting to it and repeatedly, excuse me, and repeatedly reacting to it instead of just quietly observing and quietly letting go. And the beautiful thing, and this is the last thing I'll talk about, the beautiful thing about the flow state is that it kind of propagates itself, in a sense that once you realize, oh, this feeling has come over me that all this energy is being released, you don't want to change that. You just want to let the energy out. And in the process of releasing the energy, the flow state itself, so to speak, is propagated and continues. And so it becomes almost a means in itself, or an end in itself, I should say, not a means in itself. It becomes an end in itself that I just want to stay present and I want to stay here and just let this happen. And so because of that, as you let it develop, it oftentimes will get stronger until you eventually become distracted or overwhelmed, or it kind of runs its course. We don't really get to control this as well. We have some control over it, but not full control. But I'm going to save that discussion for another time and play more guitar. Because guitar is what I am here to do. And the guitar I shall play, and play I shall. The guitar. Ladies and gentlemen, the guitar. tiny, tiny picks. Tiny, tiny picks. But that's okay. I have the larger version right here just to compare. I'm used to this one, and I want to get used to this one. I feel like I'm just picking with my fingers practically, though. It's so small. Oh well. So, just side rant. I got these picks, these tiny ones, on Amazon, so I didn't realize they were this small. I don't think I'm ever gonna buy picks online again. I feel like that was a stupid idea. It's not like they're expensive. I got like 20 of them for I think like $10 or something. But if I can't use these though, that's a waste of money, you know. And picks, it's a waste of picks. Of course, it always helps to have picks. Like I can't even. I guess I kind of can't. I don't know. It's just way less comfortable. Cool. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next Saturday, I think. Yeah, let's plan on that. Saturday Jam series will continue next Saturday. Oh, and I almost forgot. I'm playing a small show, I guess you would call it. Yeah, it's a show. Playing a small show at the Colorado School of Mines library, the place with all the books and the students studying. Playing a show in the Colorado School of Mines library on Friday, 12 to 1 p.m. Bring your lunch if you want. Yeah. Friday afternoon, I am playing a show in the Colorado School of Mines library. Bring all your friends. Or don't. I don't care. No, it's going to be fun. Actually, so just a very quick note. I'll put this down. Very quick note about this Friday show. So important that I put my guitar down. How about that? No, very important note. Well, not that important, but perhaps important. Is I will be playing acoustic guitar. Acoustic guitar. Acoustic guitar, and just playing some original songs. I will be playing acoustic guitar and playing some original songs. I will not be playing any electric guitar. Electric guitar. Will not be doing any of that. No electric guitar. Yes, acoustic guitar. Acoustic. The acoustic guitar I will play and make the music, and very excited for making the music with the acoustic guitar, and the Colorado School of Mines library on Friday at 12 to 1 p.m. 12 to 1 p.m. I'm gonna give you the dog. She says, Colorado School of Mines Library, Friday, 12 to 1 p.m. Acoustic guitar, original songs. Isn't that right, June? Good girl. Thanks for tuning in. See you next Saturday, or on Friday, or sooner, or later. Who knows? Go live your life. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in.